Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'll please remind council to disclose of any pecuniary interest at the appropriate time. And as always, our meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube, and we have the acknowledgement of the ancestral lands in our agenda for anyone to view. We have the minutes of the previous council meeting of October 17th, 2022. How does council want to deal with those minutes? Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Westgate to receive and file, I'm assuming. All in favor? That is carried. Since we have no business arising from any previous meetings, we will go to scheduled meetings and events. They are all there for council to see and for the public to see. No changes, I'm assuming. So we will go on to councillors' commitments and items. Is there anyone that needs to add any commitment dates? Okay, then we will go around the table for councillors' items, and we'll start with Councillor Westgate tonight.
I don't believe I have anything.
All right, Councillor Morris.
I just have one question. Neighbors are bugging me, Andrew. What's going on with the Moffat drain extension?
The information is going to be sent to Spreet soon for they just have to check the tenders, and then it'll come back to council to award.
So you expect it within the next month then?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Councillor White.
Nothing for me tonight.
Nothing for tonight. Thanks.
Nothing. Pretty clean.
All in favor of receiving and filing that report? That is carried. We will go on to the non-action correspondence. Is there anything anyone from council would like to highlight from the non-action correspondence this evening? Councillor Morris.
I just have one comment on the natural gas line expansion to Warwick. I don't know if anybody's been, well, Todd's probably been by it, but it's a 3-inch line. That ain't just for those 10 people. So let's hope Warwick gets it soon.
Yes, that is good to know, that is at least heading in the right direction. And just an update to council on that, the petition is still out in the community to try to encourage more cooperation. So I'm sure that we will look to our members that are carrying on with council to keep on with that fight to bring natural gas out to Warwick Village and beyond. Anything else anybody wants to highlight? Need a motion to receive and file the remainder of the correspondence. Councillor Morris and Councillor White, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. We have one item on the action correspondence. How does council want to deal with that request?
Is it not on our list?
I don't believe it is.
No, then I'd like to motion that we support this, please.
Okay, and do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Westgate?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on that? For the public's awareness, that was a request from Alex Moyer, the organizer of the community Moonlight Madness event. So she's requesting that council support the horse and carriage ride, which council seems to be in favor of. And that event will be held on Thursday, December 8th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's a great way to shop locally. So hopefully people will come out and support that event. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. And we will go on to staff reports. We will start with the updated Warwick Township Emergency Response Plan report. There is a motion to receive and file that on the floor. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Westgate. Any questions or comments on that? Anything staff would like to highlight from that report? No? Okay. All in favor of receiving and filing that report? That is carried. So we will move on to committees and other minutes. There is the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting of October 19th, 2022. Chair Councillor Todd White, do you have any comments about that meeting?
It was a great meeting, and our discussions kind of focused around new programming in the new hall. So, and there's a lot of great ideas coming forward. So,
That's great. Is there anything that you would like to highlight, Mr. Chamney, on some of those ideas? Just for the public's awareness?
Thank you. I would just recommend visiting our website for continued updates and information on future programs. We are starting to establish some drop-ins. There is a co-ed volleyball league that's moving along nicely, progressing well. That's set to start soon as well. But again, just to continue to follow our website, our social media for additional information on programs as we move forward.
That is fantastic. And I believe the walking program started today. Is that correct?
Yes, we do have a Walk with Warwick program. We have 3 sessions per week, inviting the community to come in at no charge to walk around the gymnasium.
That is wonderful. And moving into the winter weather, I'm sure there'll be lots of people that will be happy to take advantage of that new program. And as always, I'm sure Mr. Chamney is more than welcome to hearing more ideas. I know the volleyball tournament or volleyball was kind of a grassroots initiative with people wanting to get together. And I believe my sister is joining one of the teams. I forget what she called it, but it sounds like a really fun program, and the pickleball continues. And yeah, it's been great to see kids enjoying the space as well. Ryan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just further to that as well. Pickleball did start in the ELCC this evening, first night in that space. We also have open badminton play on Tuesday nights, beginning tomorrow night. A session for youth for an hour, followed by a session for adults. Just basically, again, just drop in, come in and utilize the space, see what we can offer. Hopefully get some good participation and future conversations that will lead towards maybe some more established type structured program. But first steps is to drop in, to come out and use the space and see if it might be something you wish to pursue further in the future. Similar programs for basketball are starting soon as well. So lots of great ideas, lots of great community support. We are going to be putting together some surveys and information that we'll put out to the community in hopes of finding out what the community wants to see, what the void might be, and how we can help sort of facilitate and deliver some of these types of programs. So to your earlier point, we are definitely looking for community information and feedback, and we'll be out there looking to attain that from the community soon.
Very exciting that we have this space now to do that. Councillor Westgate, you wanted to add to that?
I just wondered how Saturday went, if many people come out, and how the gym memberships are coming along.
So in terms of the YMCA gym memberships, they're up over 215, I believe was sort of the last call I heard today, which is fantastic. By all accounts, it's right on target, if not exceeding their expectations to this point. Hopefully that momentum continues and it continues to grow. In terms of Saturday's event, yes, it was good. We had anywhere between maybe 80 to 100 people throughout the day that came out and took a look. We had our sports set up. It was unstructured. It was a drop-in feel, but again, just to sort of showcase the facility to the community. And hopefully that leads to some further structured programs.
I was up there today. Did we find some unexpected concrete in the parking lot, or did they know about that? The concrete for the old water system is there for the reservoir? The bottom there in the parking lot. wondered if that was unexpected and we're gonna get charged more for that, or if we're expecting it.
Great question, Councillor Westgate. So we do have a construction meeting tomorrow. So this is one of the items that we'll be speaking about with the contractor. I can't speak to the surplus concrete you're referring to and whether it was known. I can confirm though that there was a water line found that was not on our locate list. So we'll be working through the contractor and then there may be some extras, but we'll work through them through that process.
It's just that we should have some pictures taken and some measurements on it if they're gonna haul it all out and charge us for it.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, good discussion and lots of good things happening in the new hall. So we do need a motion to receive and file the court or the minutes. It's moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Morris. All in favor? That is carried. And we still have a few minutes, so we will go to new business. There's a petition for drainage works on the Butler Drain. So there's a motion on the agenda. How does council want to deal with that? That is moved by Councillor Westgate, seconded by Councillor White. Any questions or comments on that? Anything staff wants to highlight? Just a normal petition. All right. All in favor of that? That is carried. All right, council, we are getting too good at this. Very efficient. So we are going to welcome Mr. Pickfield into the meeting. The delegation starts at 6:15. So we'll maybe just have a quick little discussion with him prior to when his actual delegation begins. We have to wait until 6:15. Good evening, Peter. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Great to see you. I wasn't sure if we were going to see you in person tonight or if we were seeing you on Zoom. So
Yeah, turns out I had a number of other things today, so I couldn't make it in person, which is too bad because I would have liked to have said goodbye to this council in person, but unfortunately I have to do it by video.
no problem. So we are running maybe 2 minutes ahead of schedule, but I think we'll wait. We'll get you started on your presentation and we won't pass any resolutions until we get to the actual time anyway. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Peter.
Great. Well, first of all, I wanted to say this evening that it's been a great pleasure to work with this council and with the mayor through the last 4 years. I think we've worked hard on landfill issues, and I think the council has been very attentive to them. And it's absolutely a pleasure to have a client like this to work with on these issues, who understand the importance of them and understand how it's important to keep WM accountable, that the landfill is an important piece of the community that needs to be addressed carefully. So I wanted to thank you all for the opportunity to work with you this last 4 years. What I'm going to do tonight is just sort of, I'm going to summarize very briefly where we've come to at the end of this last reporting cycle, sort of finish off and tie up in a bow where we are with this council, and hopefully turn over to the new council a file that's at least in as good a shape as it can possibly be in at this stage, but a lot more challenges ahead, as everybody knows. So first of all, when I left you on the 29th of August, I had reported to you the results of the draft annual review, and we always present it in draft to you first. And essentially, as you recall, we found that the landfill is operating generally in compliance with its approvals, with the standards it needs to meet, and generally in compliance. I'm going to use the word generally because I think nothing's perfect, but generally in compliance with best practices. However, there continue to be some persistent issues that the TRT has had with respect to things that can be done better and tightened up. And the TRT took the view then and continues to have the view that it's important to do that because the landfill is at a mature stage now. It's operating close to grade a lot. There's going to be interactions with the community. And there has been evidence, particularly over the last 4 or 5 years since the landfill expanded in terms of its fill rate, of odor incidents, of some traffic incidents, of litter incidents, of other things which are showing a bit of the cracks in the protection. Nothing major, but significant enough that there needs to be attention paid to it because these things can continue to get worse if attention isn't paid to them. So that's kind of where we were in August. And we had some specific recommendations for WM on how to address those things. So since August, a number of things have happened, and you can see in our report, we've sort of summarized those. We submitted the draft report to WM with the recommendations. WM provided a response on October the 19th in writing. And then we had a series of, and it was a draft, they made it clear it was a draft response because they wanted to talk it over with our team. And there were a series of team meetings with specific disciplines on our side and on WM's side coming together to discuss how they could resolve outstanding recommendations. And it was pretty successful in terms of narrowing the issues. And based on the discussions, we prepared a final report and a final tracking sheet. The tracking sheet shows that there are still a handful of unresolved issues, but generally we've come, again, as we always seem to do, we've come together on the approach to address those issues. So let me just quickly summarize those. The first one issue that I wanted to discuss was visual impacts. And there's a council decision to be made here, so I wanted to highlight this one. On visual impacts, we're now kind of at the end of the responsibilities in terms of, for WM, in terms of establishing the screen. It's now about ongoing maintenance issues and making sure and replacing trees and die off and those types of things. It's just an ongoing issue that needs to be addressed. Our landscape specialist is satisfied generally that the issues have been that he raised have been adequately addressed. The one key issue that he thought should be, it's about time they addressed, was the establishment of that picnic table and bike rack that was supposed to be put in place. They've always said, well, that's something for the after use, and we said, well, come on, something the community can use now. And they've now agreed to go ahead with that. So they're moving ahead with doing that. That was kind of one of the last little pieces. And then there were a few other issues around landscaping that have been addressed. So the issue to be for council to decide on this is we continue to have it's now only $5,000 left of a line of credit that started off at 150 to oversee the implementation of the visual mitigation measures in the landscaping plan. And the question is whether we continue to hold on to that. WM is saying, well, it's really pointless because we've implemented the plan, and this was, remember, a line of credit which was established. It was never intended to go on for as long as it has. It was supposed to go on until the landscaping was in place, but we've kept holding on to it. And then we've reduced it over the years because we've seen weaknesses in their landscape screening over the years. So just to keep them honest, but $5,000 probably doesn't do a lot to keep them honest. It would be more symbolic at this point to keep that line of credit. And the other issue is the screening program is going to have to change a lot if they move ahead with their expansion. There's going to have to be a new strategy for that, and I don't know what it will be yet. So the question for council is, should we, WM is asking, let's just get rid of the line of credit. The only reason to keep it would be for a symbolic gesture that we're not completely satisfied. Our TRT specialist is not saying a huge need for it, but it's not saying that they're saying it's really a council decision whether they want to keep it. So that's the first question I'm going to ask of council. I might want to turn that over to you for a bit of discussion.
Council, how do you want to deal with that issue? Councillor Morris?
I don't know, $5,000 is much to worry about. I'd let it go. Like, we had, what was it, 150,000 or 15,000? Was it, Peter? 150, wasn't it?
I think it started at 150, went down over the years to 40 and then to 15. And then
Like, to start at that amount and go down to 5, I think it's kind of silly to hang on to it. I'd release it. That's my opinion.
Do we have a seconder to that? Councillor White?
I'll support that as well. I don't think it's a lot of money to be holding on. I don't think there's not a lot you can do with 5,000 anymore. So
Okay, all in favor of releasing that then? That is carried.
thank you. Okay, I'm going to go down on to ground and surface water. And I'm going to repeat a number of issues that have been raised in the past with WM. There's 4 of them that really are not yet resolved related to the way they're dealing with ground and surface water that keep coming up, have come up for a number of years. One is the amount of leachate volume in the old landfill. And WM has made progress on this because the old landfill, of course, is a source of contamination because it has leachate mounding within it. But they've been pumping it down and they've become more aggressive over the last 5 years. What the TRT has said is set a really tough standard or target of an average, and they're suggesting an average of 12 million liters per year. And what our team is now suggesting is it doesn't have to be 12 million each year, but a rolling 5-year average of 12 million liters per year that is removed from the landfill. And that reflects the fact that different years, there's going to be different amounts of precipitation and therefore different amounts of mounding in that old landfill. So WM has now agreed on that issue through discussions in October that they will evaluate that and get back to us, but they think they could potentially agree to a 5-year rolling average. We don't have the final word on it yet, so it's an outstanding issue, but that's where we are on that one. The next issue is leachate mounding in the west cell of the landfill, which is the one where the leachate levels are really mounding above the groundwater level. And what WM has agreed to do through discussions in October on that issue is to explore the feasibility of reducing leachate levels in the area of the closed old landfill. So again, they're going to get back to us on it because they're still evaluating it, but they've got some ideas and we've given them some ideas about how they could address that issue. The third issue is the surface water issue that's been going on, the exceedances of total suspended solids in the surface water. And this is the one council's heard about for a number of years. It's being caused by, with the landfilling and their current sediment control practices, they're not able to get a handle on TSS levels and you see exceedances. And we've given them lots of recommendations on how to deal with it. This year, they were a little more rigorous. They're getting more rigorous with it, but the TRT still has concerns. So in our discussions in October with them, the WM agreed to actually document in detail what their sediment control practices will be and map them, show them graphically, and then be accountable for more intensive and documented sediment control practices over the course of the next year. So focus on it and see whether or not we can get more tangible results by seeing exactly what they're doing. So a more rigorous reporting on what they're doing, et cetera. So they've agreed to that. So the TRT is saying, well, let's find out what that looks like next year, find out if the spotlight is finally working on them and they're going to actually improve or reduce the levels of those exceedances of suspended solids in the water by reducing the amount of erosion that's going on at the landfill. And then the final issue is this long-standing concern we have about a gap in the monitoring program that occurred in 2014 when they removed a monitoring requirement for the landfill to continue to monitor certain surface water exceedances by monitoring water quality as opposed to doing these assay tests. And the gap in that monitoring program we think is important to resolve. We don't think it's resulted in any significant issue yet, but we think it's a gap that needs to be addressed. So they have agreed to sit down with us and discuss what the options are to improve the monitoring program with surface water. And a meeting has been scheduled already for December of 2022 because this issue just hasn't been addressed. So the team is meeting in December of 2022. Our surface water specialist and our landfill engineer specialists are going to be meeting with their team to see if we can develop something that could be presented to the ministry as to address this gap that we've identified. So on ground and surface water, I think our team is generally satisfied that that although there are these recurring issues, that we now have maybe a more robust focus on it, with WM providing these new commitments on each of those issues. We'll see what happens. But and basically for this issue, it's not a green issue, it's a yellow issue in terms of it's being resolved. We're going to wait and see how all of those issues are resolved, but we think that over the course of the next year, we should get a good handle on whether or not they've gotten these issues under complete control. So any questions on surface and groundwater? Seeing none. Okay, and the landfill engineering, it's really the same. I don't really have a lot to say about that, except the TSS discharges were the same concern, and our landfill engineers may be able to provide some practical recommendations on that. And so overall, I think that the landfill engineering issues are under control, but continuing to be monitored. On the noise issue, the only outstanding concern was a particular noise monitor where WM was claiming that there were no landfill related noise impacts causing an exceedance that occurred. And WM and our team doesn't think WM has properly evaluated that issue, that it's likely that there were landfill traffic issues that caused those exceedances. And they've kind of muffled it by putting it into ambient, when in fact the ambient was actually the landfill operations, the landfill traffic operations. So anyway, that's the very specific issue on noise. There's not major problems or issues with noise, but that issue needs attention. And WM has now agreed in our October discussions to evaluate the relationship between the landfill activities and that particular monitoring location more carefully and get back to us with a report. So we'll see what they say. It's another yellow issue, but at least they're proposing to respond to it. On air quality, I think there are some issues that may not resolve that need further attention. And the two main issues are odor and dust. And the odor issue, we're continuing to see increase, 30 to 40 complaints a year, which means there's a lot more people not complaining, probably, who are not probably complaining, who have odor issues. But that's an indicator that the odor issue, we have a problem with the odor issue. So WM has agreed to at least to conduct further evaluation of the link between the odor complaints and a power outage that they blamed it on in 2021. That's one thing that our team felt was not properly assessed. And then there's a general indication that we're getting more directly, the township is getting from WM, that they're willing to evaluate their cover policies, their daily cover policies. And so we need to pursue them on that and figure out whether or not they're prepared to improve their daily cover. The best daily cover is soils, but they have used things like auto shredder waste, and they've used this daily tarping they rely on pretty heavily to control the odors. But when on a hot summer day, when those tarps are removed, there's a waft of odor that causes impacts. So we've been pressing them on this for years to address this issue of daily cover and provide a more effective way of dealing with odors on a daily basis through that. And they have got some other, they now realize there are some other best practice options out there, which our team has shown them exist, and they're prepared to review those more carefully. And again, a yellow issue, but one that they're at least working on and going to get back to us on, hopefully. And the town, they've given the township some assurance on that too. So we'll see how accountable they are on that issue. And the other is the dust exceedances. And one of the problems with the dust exceedances is that they're saying that they're really, the standards that we're saying are being exceeded are construction standards. Well, a landfill is always under construction, and therefore they're not subject to regulation. And what we're saying is they need to put in place a continuous automated monitoring program, so we know we don't just get these spot checks, but we get a continuous idea of how much dust exceedances are occurring. They have generally agreed to do that, but they didn't agree to do it until it was clear that it was landfill operations causing it, rather than sort of interim construction issues like building a cell. And they don't feel that's been demonstrated yet. And you know, we've just pushed back on that issue, but we haven't got anywhere yet. The latest is from WM is that WM is saying that we will definitely look hard at that in the context of a landfill expansion. So I think that this is an unresolved issue. We call this is a red issue on my chart, because our team strongly believes, and our air quality inspection strongly believes, they should have a continuous monitoring real-time monitoring program for dust of this landfill. And this is something that I think the new council may want to consider taking up directly with WM. On the financial audit, there's nothing significant to report. Again, there were missed payments, but they've all been paid back. There are there's a small issue related to the certificate of insurance, and a bit disagreement about, you know, obtaining that, which we've been pressing them on, but I think we will continue to press on getting a better, the issue is that the certificate of insurance doesn't clearly state that the township gets full notice if there's any failure in the insurance. And so I think going back to them, we're going to try to figure out a way to talk to the insurer about putting something on the certificate of insurance that is stronger than that's there now. So, but so that's the only real issue that we have on the financial audit at the moment. The last two issues are the complaint process. So the complaint process at the has been an ongoing concern for this council and for the mayor too. We've had periodic meetings. I think they've become semi-annual now, to sit down with them and look at their procedures. They've been only tepidly responsive, I think. The best is what I would best I could say about it. So again, this is another one for the new council to pick up and decide how they want to deal with it. But we continue to encourage at least semi-annual meetings to discuss improvements to the monitoring program, and for them to get back to us on the outstanding recommendations that they've so far refused to address related to that. And that should be a subject of a meeting in the first half of 2023. And on the landfill inspections, we did have a meeting with the ministry folks, the district manager, and the inspector, the weekly inspector, the inspector of the landfill was at the meeting, and WM attended, as did the mayor and CAO and myself. The meeting was a dialogue, so I mean there was back and forth on it, but nothing came out of it in terms of moving to more daily inspections. And the town, and I think the ministry is resistant to it, continues to be resistant to it. And so this is another unresolved issue in my view. It's resolved in the sense that the recommendation was to meet with them, but it's unresolved in the sense that the meeting didn't yield any tangible results, or at least still hasn't yielded any tangible results. So the key thing to think about with respect to this issue is that the next time that WM is obligated to report back to the ministry on the adequacy of independent inspections at the landfill is in January of 2024. So about 14 or 15 months from now, they have to do that. That gives us a time frame, and they're required to consult with us, with the township, before they report back to the ministry. So that gives us an opportunity to first re-engage with WM on why we want to see daily inspections, and then go back to them, back to the ministry before January of 2024, I think, with another meeting where we can make our case that this isn't, that this needs to happen.
Peter, I just want to add to that, that it was brought up in that meeting that they were supposed to consult with the township and with the TRT at the time when they submitted their request for a reduced inspection. That was part of the requirement, and that never happened. I was on council at that time, so was Councillor Westgate, so was Councillor White. We were never consulted, and it was part of the requirement that they were supposed to consult with us before they even submitted a request to reduce the amount of inspections. So just so that those of you who are moving on in next term are aware of that. It was also suggested that if we were not going to move to daily inspections, that perhaps moving into a situation where they had cameras set up so that the inspector could go on and check on a daily basis, just to do a quick check to make sure that the daily cover is being done properly, because there is question as to whether or not it is or not. So that's maybe something that future councils can bring forward as well. Thanks, Peter. Sorry to interrupt.
No, those are good additions to the comments on this. So there's a number of issues that we can clearly hand on to next council around the existing operations that we can continue to push for with the new council. And I've been told that by the CAO that there would be an interest in a briefing session with the new council where we could brief them on the status of the landfill, the key issues that are coming up, and what's hanging in the air, which is that at some time in the near future, we're going to get a decision by the ministry on the terms of reference for the EA for the landfill expansion. And so they need to be ready for that process too. We don't know what the outcome of that will be, but I'm anticipating that a decision is going to happen soon now that municipal elections are over. A lot of things are dropping from this government in terms of new initiatives and changes to legislation, and also dealing with my other clients and dealing with these kinds of outstanding approvals that have been on hold for a while. So I'm expecting something soon, and that's also going to be part of the briefing with the new council. So that's my report. I have a recommendation for you. It's very similar to the recommendations that I provided in the past. It basically asking that the township receive the final report, and that township confirms that the 2022 annual review is complete, that the township be directed to schedule semi-annual meetings with WM to address outstanding items related to complaints and complaint procedures, just to reaffirm that protocol, and that the township staff be directed to set up a further meeting with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks in the 2023 calendar year to renew the request for daily inspections, and that the township directs that the final version of our annual report with the update be forwarded to WM and to the Landfill Public Liaison Committee, and that members of our team, usually it's myself and Wilf Ruland, attend at the next meeting, which is later in November, to present the outcome of the annual review. So that's my recommendation to you. And-
Okay, we'll take any questions from council before we proceed with this. It's pretty straightforward. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor White and Councillor Morris. Any further discussion? I just want to make Councillor Westgate.
The terms of reference, what is the hold up there? Do you have any idea what's holding that up, Peter?
No, and we've been trying to figure that out. You know, as you know, there's lots of questions that are being asked around why that might be occurring. We don't have any clear answers. So I could speculate, but I don't think it is helpful. I don't know why it's taking so long, but we did give them a lot to chew on. So in terms of asking them to think about a lot of different elements of this that they may not have. I'm now speaking with the glass half full here. Maybe they're thinking carefully about our recommendations, and that they're going to come back to us with something that's responsive to those recommendations on what to do with this terms of reference and with further public consultation, which is one of our main requests on that.
I can add to that in discussion with our provincial partners. I think they were waiting till after the municipal election. I just wanted to make a comment about the proposed expansion. It seems to be that people think that this is a done deal and that it's going to happen no matter what, but that's not necessarily the case. I remember a couple of years ago going to the Ministry of Environment with the mayor from Ingersoll and the mayor from Zora asking for the right to choose the right to say whether or not you wanted a landfill in your municipality. And at that time, everybody that we talked to thought they were crazy. They were spending all this money to try to fight against something, and it was a losing battle. But they won that battle, and I was at the delegation at the time, fighting alongside with them. I think that municipalities should have the right to choose whether or not a landfill or a landfill expansion comes into their municipality. So I encourage the next term of council to please fight for the rights of the people of our municipality and against the expansion. And I would remind the next term of council as well that we do have a partner with Chief Henry. He has offered to help in the situation. Oh, did he not? Well, I'm sure that we can utilize the partners that around here as well in order to fight this expansion as well. So I wish you the best of luck. All in favor of the recommendation on the floor. That is carried. Peter, it's been a pleasure working with you. And on behalf of council, I thank you for all of your hard work in helping us to make sure that they are good partners with this municipality. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Yes. We have an unscheduled verbal update from our CAO clerk. Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Rumbouts, and sorry to everyone for the veer off of the agenda. I just wanted to take a moment. I know our next step on the agenda is to move into closed session and we'll no longer be recording. But on our last public portion of our meeting with our current council, I wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of all of our staff team and our whole organization to thank this term of council for your work and dedication, for all of your efforts. It has been truly a pleasure. More casually, I'll say a bit of a ride with a big mandate and a very exciting one for all of us here. I know public office it demands a lot. I don't know that the public always understands how much it demands of our members or don't, so we do, and we really appreciate it here in Warwick. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for an exciting term. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of council. We have had one heck of a ride, but it's been a tough term. It hasn't been an easy time to lead for any of us. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately we were able to accomplish a lot over this term. And I'm super proud of everyone at this table, all of our staff for their hard work. and dedication to continuing to improve this municipality. It has been one heck of a ride, and it's been an honor serving with you gentlemen. And I appreciate everything that we've been able to accomplish, and we have left a legacy behind us, this term of council and this staff. And we have a lot to be proud of. So I appreciate everything good, bad, and ugly that we've been through, and onward and upwards. I wish everybody the best of luck going forward, and the next term of council the best of luck. And thank you all for everything that we've been able to accomplish. So we are moving into closed meeting session for the items listed on the agenda. So we will not be returning into open session, as we'll just be wrapping up the meeting. Again, I thank the public for all of their support and the amazing fundraising committee for the new hall. You guys have done so much. It's incredible what we've been able to accomplish over the last 4 years. And we appreciate everything, and we wish you the best of luck going forward. Motion to move into in camera. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Westgate. All in favor? That is carried. Take care, everyone.